Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber with two great guests positively impacting our community. Today I welcome Live Like JOJO Foundation CEO, founder, and board chair Monica Cline and her husband, vice chair Dr. Jon Cline. Dr. Cline is an emergency medicine physician at Mission Hospital. They formed the Live Like JOJO Foundation after their 7-year-old son, Jordan, affectionately known as JOJO, passed away from having Mitochondrial Deletion Syndrome. The organization's mission is to infuse joy and enrich the lives of children and families impacted by chronic healthcare challenges in Southern California through activities, advocacy, and support. Thank you, Monica and Dr. Cline, for being on Impact OC.
Hi, Don. Thank you so much for having us. We are so honored to be here. Our son, JoJo, made a huge impact on our family, on his brothers. We're blessed with 4 boys, Justin, Jackson, JoJo, and Jeremiah. His impact left an indelible imprint of savor the moment, today is the gift. By the time he was 2 years old, it was a struggle. He had many health challenges, and it was scary to know what's next and is he going to the hospital. But somehow Jordan convinced us that he was going to make today great and we were not to worry about tomorrow. And that really started a way of doing this journey with him, that his brothers and friends and family live this mission of today's the gift and let us all savor the moment.
Well, Dr. Cline, please share with us what mitochondrial deletion syndrome is and how it affected JoJo and the challenges he faced during his short life.
Thanks, Don. That's a lot to try and cover. Mitochondrial deletion syndrome is one of many different types of deletion syndromes that can occur. The mitochondria is an organelle that's in every cell in the body except for mature red blood cells, and it's the organelle that provides every cell with energy. So Jordan was essentially operating with about 50% of those mitochondria not working in every cell in his body, more or less. So you can imagine how that might impact you in everyday situations, from brushing your teeth, just being able to manage the secretions in your mouth or those cells to be able to keep up with that, to keeping your eyes moist, to swallowing. So the mitochondria, you can imagine, would have to have more mitochondria in the cells that do the most metabolism in your body. So brain, cardiac tissue, all the skeletal muscles, swallowing, all the things that we would take for granted. He was at a deficit in those things, and it took quite a while for our family to discover what was causing his difficulties. He was born just a little premature because he started having some loss of weight in utero, but his other 2 brothers hadn't had any problems. We weren't sure what was happening, but he seemed to catch up and was gaining weight by the time he was 6 months of age and was hitting all of his milestones. But then once he started the weaning process, he just started rapidly losing weight, and that began our journey as trying to understand what's wrong with JoJo. We don't know. He was bright and beautiful. He had wonderful smile, but he was delayed in some of his milestones, like walking. And we just started down the road of seeing one subspecialist of pediatric medicine after another, trying to understand, taking different symptoms to each one, and all of them were scratching their head because what they would normally do, how they would normally manage that symptom didn't help. And so we eventually ended up with a metabolic physician at CHOC in Orange, and they ran his nuclear DNA, which is the DNA of the cell, found nothing, and then they ran the mitochondrial DNA and came back 4 months later and said, well, it took so long to get the results because his deletion is so large, we weren't sure it was compatible with life. So you could have 2 weeks with Jordan, or you could have 20 years. And that kind of started our journey as far as, you know, trying to understand how to live life with him with that illness.
And then you started the organization, Monica.
Yes, in 2018, probably about 6 months after he passed, we had a memorial walk through the Chalk Walk. And we had 250 people that were friends and family who said, he left an imprint on my heart. He showed me that all the struggles and all the complaints that I had didn't really matter, and that I want to share this mission and let's do something. And so that started a whole start of giving back to local children's hospitals and supporting families.
And your organization you do support, advocacy, and activities. Kind of talk about those.
Yeah, so what we exist really for the entire chronic healthcare journey. So at diagnosis, we're there, in and out of the hospital, on well days, and then also at the final moments. And we do this through activities that bring joy and meaning. We do it through advocacy, especially at end of life, helping guard those moments, and support in different ways, whether it's a basket event or a superhero red carpet, is really saying to these families, we see your child, we see the struggle, but we see what an incredible warrior your child is, and we're going to give him the right or her the right to be celebrated for all her accomplishments.
Talk about the superhero experiences.
The superhero experiences along the chronic healthcare journey are what we call the well days. So when you have, in our experience, a rare disease, you know that you're going to be in and out of the hospital, you're going to have therapy days, blood draw days, but you will have some well days. And so the superhero experiences are set up to say, hey, let's push the pause button, the entire family. Let's not worry about yesterday. Let's not think about tomorrow. Let's celebrate the moment of today. And that's through a princess experience or a petting zoo experience, or every October at our walk, we roll out a literal red carpet, and we have 13 superheroes who walk this red carpet. The crowd goes wild, and we celebrate them and this moment of well.
What are the ages of the children that you deal with?
2 years to, I think we had a 17-year-old last year.
Dr. Cline, talk about the Live Like JOJO walk.
Okay, we just had our 4th annual Live Like JOJO walk 2 weeks ago in October. And we were blessed with 13 superheroes, and there was not a dry eye, I could say, that I could see around me, including my own, during the red carpet walk, because these kids are there. They have special needs. They have families that are just typically on their day-to-day basis overwhelmed with feeding tubes and respiratory. A lot of them are on ventilators continuously. They have walkers. Some of them are in wheelchairs, but each of them brings that special type of disability to the carpet, and we just celebrate them in that walk. And I just, the expressions on the parents' faces. We just had a little girl that was about 2 months old that did the walk with braces on her feet, and it was probably 30 feet. It took her about 5 minutes to do it with her parents' help, and in speaking with them afterward, they kept saying we wanted to pick her up, but she just did not want to stop walking. And just how many people came up to me afterward and just said the courage that they saw there was like nothing they'd ever seen before.
What kind of ailments do they suffer from?
I believe she did. We had 2 children there this year that have mitochondrial disease, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, other genetic deletion syndrome, so multiple different illnesses.
And we don't know what causes it?
Oh, well, all of them, many of them have, specific reasons for their illness. It might have been something that happened during the birthing process that caused an injury to their brain or spinal cord. It could be a genetic predisposition where they were born that way genetically. But, the best thing about the walk is it doesn't really matter, because they're there, and whatever has brought them there and their family there, we just get a chance to celebrate who they are and who their family is. And so many of those families are so focused on just keeping their kids alive that they haven't had a chance to just step back and just celebrate for them for who they are. So along our walk, we have multiple, maybe 12 or 13 stations, things that JoJo like Star Wars figures, basketball area, Nerf guns. There's a pumpkin patch, and
Dance
all those.
party.
Yeah, dance party. He loved to dance, and so the kids get to enjoy that with their families, and it's just, and then everyone that's come to watch gets to kind of walk that and experience that with them, and it's an amazing experience.
Where did you have it?
At the outlets in San Clemente.
Oh, nice. And then Monica, you do sunshine boxes.
Yes. So our foundation, how we support families is through 3 different pillars, and that's JoJo's Joyful Moments, JoJo's Superhero Experiences, which we just talked about, and JoJo's Blankets. But going back to the JoJo's Joyful Moments, so there's 2 pieces of that, and that's the sunshine boxes and the Thanksgiving baskets. And those exist for the clinic days and the hospital days. Like we said, the superhero experiences are for well days. The sunshine boxes and Thanksgiving baskets are set up for those hospital clinic days. And those are extremely difficult unless you've been there. It's hard to conceive being in the pediatric ICU, not knowing if your child is going to make it through the night, and it's a holiday, and you imagine everyone else in the world is having a perfect holiday, and you feel very, very alone. And so these Thanksgiving baskets have over 50 different items, and some of them are for mom, some are for sibling. But what they do is they convey you are not alone, you are not forgotten. We are here, and we are with you through this difficult night.
What are some of the items that are
In the Thanksgiving baskets, there's a shawl, there's cake, there's chocolate, there's Altoids, there's a makeup remover, hand lotion, cinnamon sticks because hospitals do not smell good. So we have cinnamon sticks in there. I just remember thinking about my nights in the hospital and thinking, what would I have loved to have, but I wouldn't feel comfortable ever asking of someone. And so it's kind of filled with all of those items.
Well, give us some examples of stories of people who enjoyed those baskets.
There are several different families that come to mind. One specifically is a integral part of our foundation, and I would say an ambassador, because it was one of those hardest nights and the prognosis was poor. And they said they gave us a beautiful photo of their son in the hospital bed with all these cute little Thanksgiving items surrounding him in the bed. And they just said it changed our life, and we now really want to be a part of giving back because of what this meant to us.
Dr. Cline, you want to share some stories?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. There's so many. We just had an opportunity to take 100 sunshine boxes to Loma Linda. And when we were there, the staff, we had about 50 staff come down, and they brought 2 children down for us to give a sunshine box to. And it was so exciting to just, my first experience, or one of the few experiences, is just handing that to a child that came down. Arm is wrapped in a big IV. You could tell he'd been in the hospital for a long time. And immediately, once that sunshine box was open, and he was just all smiles.
What's in it?
Well, it depends on the age, but I think he was about 5, and so, there's crayons and things to draw on, but, there's cars and superheroes and just different toys and things. And there's probably inside, and each box is decorated differently. Somebody does the artwork on the top, and so each box is very unique. And it just seems so many times that for whatever reason, that box is meant for that person. And they're just like, how did you know I loved Batman, And it just, so many different pictures that we get from people that send stuff online, and mothers that are just so grateful that said, we've been here 10 days, and he doesn't want to eat, and it was the hardest day, and the nurse brought him a special box today. And he's been all smiles, so special.
One of the incredible things about the sunshine boxes is when a nurse or a child life specialist hands them out, they say there's only one box like this in the entire universe, which is true because everyone is hand painted and hand decorated with their whatever scene kind of was inspiring to that child or adult who created the box, and they say, and there's only one of you in this world, and so this box was meant for you in this moment. And that the impact that has on that child and the family standing there is incredible.
So who creates the boxes?
You know, we have a large variety of people and organizations who follow our social media. They'll see it and they say, hey, I'm a part of Lion's Heart group, and we would like to do 20 sunshine boxes. And so a group of adolescent boys get together and they do Marvel like figures and signs, and there'll be a Girl Scout group. We've had tattoo parlors do some incredible art on sunshine boxes. So really, if you want to do good in the world and you're willing to use your gift of art, then you can make a sunshine box for us.
Do you tell them what you want in the box to fit the particular patient?
You know, what's in the box is pretty specific. It's within a couple years, so let's say 2 to 4 years, because we want the items to be very relevant and appropriate for the age group. So what's inside the box is more specific and designated, but the art on the outside box is really, you imagine that you're in the hospital, what would bring you joy? And that's what happens on the box. And so it makes it really inspired, because I feel like it really comes from deep within that person's heart.
Now, are you witness to them getting the boxes?
I've just had a few experiences, and it's the variety is amazing. One just kind of wanted to grab it and run as fast as he could back to the room and forgot the thank you, but I was like, that's okay. And then others, you know, give me the biggest hug, and I would say the thing that happens every time is mom, just in tears. So much gratitude.
Did JoJo realize he was sick and he might not make it?
That's a good question. He definitely knew. I mean, he and his 3 brothers were different, right? He couldn't keep up as much as he would have liked to. But, you know, JoJo, as much as when you read his chart, we would come in and see a doctor, and then he would come in the room and they would say, this is Jordan. Because the way he read, they thought somebody was going to carry him in and he couldn't walk and he couldn't speak. But he would come in wrestling with his brother, laughing and playing with an iPad, and you wouldn't know. So, you know, did we have a few talks about why he's not being able to go to normal school, or why he has to go to PT or OT, or why does he have a feeding tube, or why does he have a pacemaker at the age of 4? You know, those are conversations you have to have. But other than that, he just loved people and he loved life, and he was wanting to go all the time. He skied in Mammoth at a special needs place. He loved to ride horses. He had we had a trampoline in the backyard, and he just was full of life. So, you know, did he understand what a mitochondrial deletion syndrome was? No. Did he know he had to see like multiple doctors and have terrible blood draws, and he had to do things that no one else around him had to do? He understood that. But I don't know that he really understood the gravity of, you know, his disease being progressive, and that, you know, he would only live 7 years.
Have you met other kids who lived like that now that you've started that organization?
Yeah, I would say many of our superheroes have incredible stories in which they could or should have never been able to do, but they do, and they thrive, and there's joy and there's hope in that little life and in the home, even with the unknown or the poor prognosis. So yeah, there's some incredible, inspiring stories that we've been able to be a part of.
And what have you learned from this whole experience?
Moments count. For anyone listening, today is the gift. It's all that we know and all that we have. And so this is, if this is all we have, then this is your opportunity to bring joy and hope to others, and celebrate the moment.
What about you?
You know, just having recently watched those 13 superheroes, I think when you have a child that has a progressive illness or a chronic medical condition, you get so focused, hyper-focused, you have blinders on, and you just don't realize how much they have to share with other people. And that was the neatest thing, is how many people came up and just said, I was truly inspired. We had cheerleaders all along the red carpet, and I don't know how many of those got up with a dry eye. And it's neat to see, you know, teenage girls who are at the top of their game as cheerleaders there with pom-poms. truly being moved by these kids who might not be able to speak, or who have to wear headphones on their ears because they can't take the sensitivity of the noise. So just it's just neat to know that each of those children has something that they still have to share with the rest of us. That's special.
How are you funded?
We are funded largely by individual
100%
donors
donation,
that are just moved by our what we're doing and how we're there for families. I haven't got to say too much about the end of life, but I think that's probably the most profound and impactful piece of who we are and what we do. Our experience was not favorable, and so we've been able to come back and communicate, hey, if you do a few things, you can protect and guard the moment. And the last touch point that a parent has with their child is their forever memory. And so it's really crucial that we who had our experience and can come back and share that, and even we as a society do what we can to protect moments for families who will have to say goodbye to their child one day.
Share more.
Okay. So it's called the JOJO blanket program, and we're currently in 8 hospitals. We have what's called the JOJO blanket, and it's an end of life blanket. But more than that, what it is a tangible symbol that's given from nurse to a family to say there's a family that's been right here before and they got up the next day, so don't give up. And so there's that tangible element, but there's also an education piece, because in our experience, the nurse was probably understaffed, distracted, had a lot going on her plate, did not have the maybe education and awareness of how important this moment was. And so having the presence of mind and the pause to say, I'm entering a room, that's like wet cement. And when I come in and I make an imprint, it's here forever for this family. So there's a significant education piece that goes with that.
How can people help you?
Well, there is 2 ways: volunteering, which this upcoming Sunday in Laguna Niguel, if you go on our Instagram, you'll see that we need help to fill 100 Thanksgiving baskets. And then also our annual walk, we always need volunteers and really donations. We have a very low administrative overhead, and so most of every single dollar goes directly to families, and that's at every place along the entire chronic healthcare journey.
What is the website?
www.livelikejojo.org.
And the Instagram, how do they find that?
Oh, it's, what is it, underscore? Live Like JoJo with lines in between. Sorry.
And so this weekend, you envision a lot of people helping you put together boxes.
Yes, 100 Thanksgiving baskets going to 4 different hospitals. So it's a community event for everyone to come out. Whether you're 2 or 85, just come out, make a craft, fill a basket. It's incredible to be a part and to have your fingerprint on something that brings hope and strength.
What do your sons feel about all this?
Well, Jordan passed away 7 years ago. Our oldest was 11 then. So they are still excited to be a part of it. They help with the setup and the takedown, and they're a big part of, making these different events take place. And I think, it's hard to tangibly understand how that's really helped in their grieving process, but I think it's been paramount in our family overall, continuing to try and stay close to Jordan, as close as we can be at this point in time. We see his face all over at these events. They hear his name spoken. They still see so many of his original friends and volunteers who are part of it. So I think it's a healing thing.
Thank you for being on Impact OC. Live Like JoJo Foundation CEO, founder, and board chair Monica Cline, and her husband, Vice Chair Dr. Jon Cline. Dr. Cline is an emergency medicine physician at Mission Hospital. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.